Whether you're joining one of our events for the first time or if you're a seasoned regular, welcome to the Customer Marketing Summit. We have an incredible selection of innovative content lined up for you today. But before we dive in, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to our sponsors, speakers, and you, our lovely audience, for joining us. From wherever in the world you are watching, we're sure you'll enjoy today's talks. To get the most out of these sessions, please make sure you're sharing your feedback and asking your questions in the comments section for our speakers to answer. Each of today's session recordings will be uploaded into our on-demand content library, which you can access with a PMA Pro membership or an Access All Areas pass. We are also really excited to announce that the Customer Marketing Alliance is becoming its very own community. We'll have more information to follow soon, but for now, you can join us in the Customer Marketing Slack channel to connect with peers, get access to fresh content, and discover new opportunities. So with all this to look forward to, let's get started.
Customers will spend more with you if they're getting value out of the products and services that you deliver, and the experiences that you provide after the initial sale. Creating upsell opportunities is just one of the many hats worn by customer marketers. Enjoy this fireside chat with a couple of Google specialists in this area.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today to learn about our top 10 tips for driving customer demand. My name is Shannon Monahan.
And I'm Seema Rizvi.
Seema and I work at Google Cloud building upsell and cross-sell programs across our portfolio of products. And we are very excited to share with all of you today our top tips for building a powerful upsell engine that drives value for your customers and revenue for your business. If you're just getting started with building upsell programs and campaigns, our tips are laid out in sort of our suggested order of operations. So tip number 1 is your starting point, and then we sort of layer on with 2, 3, 4, etc., until you have a well-built upsell engine by tip number 10. And if you're already an upselling expert, hopefully we'll have a couple new ideas for you today. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in to tip number 1. Outline your vision for customer growth. This tip is really a foundational starting point. What are you trying to build? How will it help your business? For most businesses, you reach a tipping point where your current customer base becomes big enough that it can be driving equal or more revenue than your net new prospects. This is when it becomes critical for marketing to build a truly full funnel lead generation engine. You're not only acquiring new businesses, but you're also engaging and growing your existing customer base. The image here gives you a look at that full funnel marketing engine. All marketing organizations start with prospecting and acquiring new business. But over time, you need to invest in engaging and growing your existing customer base as well. And ultimately, customers who are engaged and growing will become your advocates.
Great. And now to tip number 2, find your upsell champions. As you build out your upsell engine, it is critical to find advocates who understand why upsell is a key revenue driver and will support building out the engine to drive customer growth. Minimally, you need alignment and buy-in from sales, operations, and customer success. Here are some things you want to consider at this stage. Trial a few upsell programs to see what works and what doesn't, both for engaging customers, but also to identify potential gaps in process and operations. With some wins, you'll build momentum and interest in upsell. Once you've demonstrated some success, consider creating an upsell council across key stakeholders to formally align on goals, process, funnel stage definitions, and criteria. Ultimately, you want to get to a place where upsell goals are part of the overall demand goals for the business, with different teams goaled on and accountable for upsell, whether it's marketing, the sales team, customer success, the SDR and BDR team. Having upsell goals across the business drives shared accountability and sets you up for success.
That's such a great point, Seema. I love the upsell council. This was something that was super successful for us, something that we did every single month and drove a ton of alignment for our organization. All right, so let's move on to tip number 3. Organize your customer data. You really can't run any interesting or sophisticated upsell programs without having access to organized and trackable customer data. Make sure you're tracking customer data points such as demographics, so location, job title, product usage by what products and features they're using or how often they're in the product, segmentation by industry or business size, and of course, customer lifecycle. Are they onboarding? Are they coming up for renewal, etc.? A mistake I've seen at many companies is that they jump right in and they start planning and building and wanting to execute upsell campaigns, but they quickly realize that they don't have their data or operations in a place to support this. So the big tip here really is become best friends with your internal data team or your internal operations team, because these are the people who are really going to make it possible for you to have all of the infrastructure in place to be running your campaigns.
That is so important, Shannon. Just having data undergird your engine, right? And sort of really be that foundation to driving why you're doing what you're doing. Tip number 4. So map your personas and your customer journey. An important step to building out your customer demand engine is to deeply understand your audience. And at the end of the day, we are talking to another human. So doing the work to build out your personas and customer journey is really critical. Who are your key personas? These could include decision makers, your stakeholders and influencers, as well as your users. And you really do want to understand, what are they in charge of? What do they care about? What keeps them up at night? And how does your product or solution solve for that? I would encourage anyone who is working on customer demand to find opportunities to speak with customers directly. What was their journey to your product or solution? What were they looking to solve for? And why did they come to you? And importantly, for driving customer growth, what are they looking to do next? So in addition to building out your personas, it's also very important to map out your customer journey in order to understand what is the best next new product or use case to surface to your customers. Data, again, is critical here. So work cross-functionally to gather insights from product marketing and customer-facing teams, as well as rely on product usage data to understand, for example, product overlaps and key product clusters that drive growth.
Awesome. Yes, totally agree. Thinking about your personas so that you really understand the human that you're connecting with can bring so much life to your marketing. All right, halfway point. Let's talk about tip number 5, leverage data for propensity models. This one's really interesting. So because you've collected so many interesting insights about your customers, you can now leverage data to target the right message to the right person. The goal here really is to ensure you are being helpful and considerate around your upsell tactics. You don't just want to blast your entire customer database with offers. You want to understand who has high, medium, or low propensity for the products or services you provide. We use propensity models for all of our cross-sell campaigns. If a user has X product, how likely are they to be interested in Y? If data shows us that they have a high likelihood to be interested, then we include them in our campaign. This is an always-on, ongoing model. So this month, a user might not show a high propensity for a certain product, but maybe 6 months from now, they've showed more interest. The propensity model puts them in the high or medium category, and then they get added into our campaign, which is everything from emails, ads, webinars, etc. But really, ultimately, the goal here, again, with propensity models is you're targeting this timing at the right time for the right user, and you're being really thoughtful with your approach using data.
It's all about data, isn't it, Shannon? So now we get to tip 6, create content customers find engaging. So now that you know who you're talking to, make sure you're creating content that customers will find valuable. And to Shannon's point, be able to deliver the right message at the right time. Remember, customers, particularly users, will have some familiarity with your product. We have found by and large that customers respond well to and engage with educational and how to content. Blogs and short videos are a great format for this. Product deep dives. This could be a technical deep dive depending on your product and audience. So go deep with a subject matter expert into a key feature. Your customers will really eat that up. Product features and launches. Again, build programs to highlight your new features and launches and engage your customers with opportunities to speak with those product experts. Learning from other customers. This is something I think is so valuable to your customer base. So consider customer roundtables or webinars and giving customers the opportunity to learn from one another. What they did, what worked, but also what didn't work and maybe what they would have done differently. This can kickstart new upsell opportunities or accelerate ops through the funnel. The key takeaway here is to ensure that whatever content or program experience you're building, it is providing value to your customers. Ultimately, if you're providing value and you're building trust and connection, your customers will come back to you and grow with you. And I think, as we said before, like these MQLs and ops, they're people that you're really talking to and engaging with. And so to keep that in the back of your mind as you build out your programs, I think is always critical.
That's so great, Seema. And yes, content is the fuel for your campaign. So make sure you are really building the right content for your customers. All right, let's move into tip number 7, lean into new marketing channels. This is a fun one. What I like about this is that you have the opportunity and chance to leverage new types of marketing channels with customers and just really connect in different ways. So one of my personal favorite channels is in-product. In-product banners or notifications are incredibly effective and engaging. We are very thoughtful about what we put in product. We're not just going to put anything in there. So it usually needs to be something like a tier 1 event or a targeted learning opportunity for us to put it in product. A great software that we've used to run our in-product messaging is called Pendo. It's really easy as a marketer to go into Pendo, build and set up your actual banner or notification, set up the targeting for your guide. Once we have it all set up, then we can work with our product or design teams to review it and make sure everything looks good before we actually push it live. And then once it is live, we can go back into Pendo to see metrics like views and clicks and evaluate the overall performance. So overall, we've seen our in-product promotions perform extremely well compared to other channels. Again, I would be thoughtful about what you put in product, but if it's going to be really valuable for your customer base, this is a great channel to use. Other marketing channels that you might want to lean into are things like online communities, user groups, or conferences. These are great opportunities to really engage deeply with your existing customers.
Great. And tip number 8, we've talked a lot about building the right content, building the right programs, really finding ways to engage with your customers. Here, we're really focused on investing in your biggest customers. And in a way, this is fairly straightforward, right? You want to identify which of your large accounts you can grow and then build those thoughtful programs to really engage them and grow them. Really critical to this work is partnering with sales and customer success and other stakeholders, whether it's customer or sales engineering, to build that target account list, and then work closely to build the right programs, the right content, and create shared accountability through shared goals. And this really helps set you up for success in growing those target accounts and strategic accounts. A program we found to be really successful with our strategic accounts was something that we called our Looker Data Days. These were 90-minute sessions. They featured customer speakers from the account, so it provided a way for our customers to be subject matter experts within their organization. We also tapped into our own product experts to present on areas that we knew that the customer was interested in learning more about, and always provided a relevant demo. This is really a great way to drive expansion opportunities, not only to grow within an account, but also to tap into subsidiaries, especially with a large enterprise account, by demonstrating that broader value that your product has to the larger account itself.
That's great. It's always so valuable to invest in those really strategic customers and have some of those high touch programs around it to drive value and growth. All right, we are now down to our final 2 tips. So let's talk about tip number 9, educate your team on customer follow-up. All right, so what I mean here is that prospects and customers should not be treated the same. Oftentimes, your sales development team is trained on all things prospecting. It's important to work together to develop a thoughtful approach for customer conversations. Be sure your team is getting alignment with AEs and CSMs. They're leveraging existing CRM notes, and they're digging into things like product usage or existing pain points before reaching out to customers. We have an incredibly close relationship between marketing and our sales development team. We sync with them bi-weekly. We review upcoming campaigns with them. We get feedback from them on our upsell scripts, how the messaging is resonating on calls. We also check in on our upsell numbers and how our teams are tracking towards our shared goals. I think having this alignment and collaboration is just so important for upselling success and making sure that you're really working together to hit those metrics and hit those goals that drive revenue for your business are going to look amazing for your executive team. All right, Seema, now I'm handing it over to you for our final tip.
Yes, and all of this discussion around goals and alignment, it's really to get to tip number 10, to showcase your wins. This is really all about the numbers, and it's your opportunity to shine. The key piece here is showing that you are driving the business forward. So we have generally focused on MQLs, marketing qualified leads. Remember, that is a person on the other end of that. Opportunities and sourced and influenced pipeline as our high-level KPIs, because that's what matters most to the business. It is critical that whatever you're reporting on, you've aligned across the business on your success metrics. A couple of tips. Build a consistent cadence for highlighting your work, whether it is a regular sales and marketing meeting or a demand meeting or a newsletter or a quarterly recap. Make sure that you're consistently sharing what you're doing. Focus on the high-level numbers for your leadership team. You can dive into the details with your smaller teams to find ways to optimize your programs, but at the leadership level, they want to know what is driving the business. At the end of the day, upsell is a critical revenue driver, and you will want to be formally part of any sort of pipeline or demand council so that there's visibility and accountability across the business. Hopefully, the tips and steps we've outlined here will help you get there.
Awesome. Thanks, Seema. And yes, be sure to have those metrics in dashboards that you can show across the business, because I think that's the big thing here, right? What you're doing when you're building these upsell, cross-sell programs is driving revenue for your business. And you want to show how you're creating those leads, how you're creating those opportunities, and how you're driving pipeline. And that's just going to show how valuable the work you're doing is. All right, so those are our top tips, and let's quickly recap and go through them. Number 1, outline your vision for customer growth. Number 2, find your upsell champions. Number 3, organize your customer data. Number 4, map personas and your customer journey. Number 5, leverage data for propensity models. 6, create content that customers find engaging. Number 7, lean into new marketing channels like in product. Number 8, invest in your biggest customers. Number 9, educate your team on customer follow-up. And finally, number 10, showcase your wins. I hope that some of this was helpful, that you've either learned some new ideas or you've been inspired to build your own upsell, cross-sell marketing engine that will help drive value for your customers and revenue for your business.
Thank you all for listening in, and feel free to connect with Shannon and I on LinkedIn. We would love to learn from each of you and continue to share ideas on how to drive that upsell engine.
Yeah, definitely reach out and connect. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.
Working from home. Time to make some progress on this blog post. What's this? Account executives, do you have healthcare case studies? No, of course not. Proof points about how we're different, better than competitors? What's wrong with the sales team? ROI stats for the website. Man, positive reviews on G2. This is ridiculous. Wait a second. I forgot we have user evidence. Hey team, it's all here. We're good.
Welcome to your PMA Pro membership, your gateway to continued professional product marketing development. Whether you're new to the industry or an experienced practitioner, we've covered all bases with our variety of specialist content, including on-demand presentations, templates, exclusive content, mentors, toolkits, learning paths, and more. So let's take a look at exactly what could be all yours as a Pro member. Starting with exclusive articles, jam-packed with in-depth insights from experts at companies like Google, LinkedIn, HubSpot, and Drift. And we add new pieces to your dashboard every single week. Your template hub is packed with 50 plus vetted and tested templates and frameworks designed to streamline fundamental processes. Used by companies such as Slack, Microsoft, Twitter, and TikTok, rest assured, you and your team will be equipped with the best materials to enhance your practice. And better yet, we add new templates into your plan every month. Here at PMA, we have a busy event schedule year-round. And as a Pro member, you'll get access to every presentation on demand to enjoy whenever and wherever you please. Better yet, you won't have to pay a cent to attend our virtual festivals and summits. The discounts don't stop there either. As a Pro member, you'll also get 10% off our suite of certification programs. After a structured learning experience, then our product marketing learning paths and toolkits are for you. Whether you've got a positioning overhaul on the horizon, want to upskill in sales enablement, or plan for next quarter's product launch, each toolkit and path features presentations, templates, and guides that'll help you hit the ground running and continue your professional development furthermore. Moving on to our peer councils. They're the perfect platform for live, virtual interaction, and the monthly gatherings allow you to connect with an intimate pod of product marketing leaders to strategize and collaborate. And last but not least is our mentor program. Whether you want to be a mentor, mentee, or both, you can accelerate your personal and professional growth by learning from product marketing heavyweights all over the world. So, with product marketing teams at globally recognized brands such as IBM, TikTok, Uber, and Amazon reaping the benefits of the stellar content on offer, why shouldn't you? Sign up for your PMM Pro membership and access a never-ending flow of tried, tested, and recommended tactics, learn from the leading lights in the industry, fast-track your professional development, and accelerate your career trajectory.
Advocacy isn't something you simply turn on in customer marketing. Software can help, but ultimately it's about making human connections and building relationships that have enduring value for everyone involved. Let's keep it going with the next Summit session.
Hey everyone, I hope you've all had a great day at the Customer Marketing Summit so far. Our industry leaders have had so much invaluable insight to share. So with that in mind, please welcome Gal Baran, CEO and co-founder of CrowdVocate.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you for the Product Marketing Alliance for setting this up. So excited to see you all. Amazing sessions today. I know there's a few more to go, but we're getting there. And I hope to add some value to you as well. With a session about 7 proven tactics to hit home run with your customer marketing and advocacy programs. Let's begin. So first of all, my name is Gal. I'm the CEO and co-founder at CrowdVocate. And if you want this deck or any information, any questions about it, just hit me at gal.biran@crowdvocate.com. We're going to talk about 7 tactics to create home runs with your programs. We'll go through these 7 topics: the right program strategy, getting solid collaboration with other departments, growing nominations and repetition within your programs, making it contextual, super important. Walk the walk, talk the walk. I'll talk about that one as well. Attribution and tracking, and of course, sharing success. We'll have time for questions and answers, so feel free to push them as we go. And yeah, let's get started. First of all, just as an intro, a little bit about CrowdVocate and what we're doing in the industry. So CrowdVocate is a holistic platform for customer marketers and also for product marketing managers in the audience. Because the idea for us is like tracking the entire life cycle of a customer, life cycle engagement, generating advocacy, generating references and tracking those, upsell, cross-sell, education, anything across basically the post-sale activities that you want to do with your customer base. So it's an all-in-one platform for reference management, advocacy automation, customer marketing, and lifecycle insights and activation. We can see some examples here of engaging customers within the HubSpot community or within Radware's product in-app, tracking the journeys and having real-time in-app integration engagement with advocates and customers across all touch points. And when I say across all touch points, we really mean across all touch points. For us, it's really about being able to meet your customers wherever they are, in your community, in your academy, in your support site, in your product with in-app, in your events and virtual events, in your knowledge base, any place your customers engage with your brand, we want to be able to engage them with your programs, whether it's with in-app messages, pop-up messages, text, email, make it contextual, make it real-time, make it in their face when they're engaging you anyway, and make it relevant for them, of course. And these are like, you really want to tie everything together. We see so many companies talk about, hey, but how do I, product teams are asking for product feedback and beta customers, and marketing is asking for people to do PR and IR and whatever, and speaking events. And then sales is requesting for references or logo usage. And we need also content. How do we tie all those things together so we don't overuse the customer and we see their journey and we leverage, if product talk to them, now sales can talk to them. If they upsell, maybe we want their story, and kind of create that holistic and journey-based approach where you constantly track the customer's journey and you constantly engage based on that. And we found a lot of great customers kind of appreciating this approach. You can see some of our great logos and brands that use us. They also kind of see us as a high performer. And for 4 quarters in a row, we're also the best support in the category. Only one company gets that. So, I mean, our customers also love our support and success with them. With that, I want to kind of start moving into a little bit of what we do for the category and the session itself. So first of all, a little bit about our category. I invite you all to join the Slack group that we have and share with others. This is part of what we're doing today. We're sharing with others. So you can ping us and join the Slack group. It's on our website, and we'll basically add you in there. You can also post jobs in the industry board or look for jobs over there. And other things that we're doing, this is an official announcement of Obsession. We're going to have the first industry event for customer marketing, customer-led growth champions. It's going to happen in mid-June in San Francisco, 3 days, 40 plus speakers, 6 themes. This is the event for you in person and hybrid, so also virtually. This is the event for us, for the industry, and I'd love to meet you all there in 2 months. So that's another thing that we're doing with the industry. A lot of you have heard about top 25 and top 100 customer marketing advocacy champions. We ran that this year. We'll run it again next year. We'd be happy also to meet you all next month in May in Austin or Palo Alto in meetups or the summit, B2B Summit with Forrester. And with that, let's start to talk about 7 proven tactics to hit home run with your customer marketing programs. So the first thing is to have the right program strategy. I can't emphasize this enough. And it really is so important to kind of go to the drawing board and plan before you start doing anything. And I'll go into why that is important and how that helps. But with the right planning, with the right programs, you can see that HubSpot, for example, are achieving 5x the amount of advocates and activities than they've done with any other program in the past through like the power that they have us. But when you talk about planning, you want to make sure that you define the strategy and KPIs. So what are the goals for the first year? What are the KPIs that align with company KPIs? How we collaborate with other departments, sales, marketing, the bigger marketing org, customer success, executive sponsors. You should talk to customers. What would make it valuable for them to be an advocate or a champion? What are they expecting from the company? How can they influence and contribute? What are they willing to do? And then you also want to kind of be able to track. And it really is super important to, don't start with a platform. Don't start with launching a program. Start with a plan, with a strategy. So to do that, you basically want to understand the strategic goals of your company and make sure that you know how the program contributes to that. I'll give an example. If the company this year is very big on upsell, your program should show how you leverage advocacy or the customer base and customer marketing activities for upsell. And there's several ways to do that. You can upsell to customers if they're engaged in your program, and you can leverage customers who've already upselled, capture their customer stories, and then use that for others like them to do the upsell motion, same way that you use customer stories for a new sell, for acquisition or a reference call. So you could even do upsell reference calls or upsell meetups. There's a lot of creative things you can do with your customers to support an upsell motion if that's a strategic initiative in the company. So you have to align with those company goals. That's very important. Then you have to kind of show how you're going to measure that. So if another program is about, for example, improving, company presence on G2, you want to show what's the situation today, where do you hope it's going to be, and how are you going to measure it? So you're going to measure both on the number of reviews, but also the quality of the reviews in sense of the types of companies. Maybe you want to have more enterprise companies there. So the type of companies that are putting their voice on G2. And then the last thing is also, of course, the review score and the review text. So these are different things that you want to be able to share with internally and have people agree on. You want to be able to build a quarterly program, right? Kind of think of what is my plan per quarter. I'm not, this is the big year plan, but let's cut it to pieces. What are my KPIs per quarter? And agree on those. How does the program evolve in time? Don't try to do everything in Q1 or when you roll out the program. And then just roll it out in kind of subsets or sequences, right? So let's assume that you agree with your company that you want to do things that influence revenue, the 3 R's, referrals, reviews, references. You also want to get customer feedback. It's very important, and some testimonials and whatnot. Don't do all of those at once. So think, what are the first ones we start with? What are the others? How do we get there? And show how that evolves into it within a year timeframe, not within a month or 3. And then, of course, you want to communicate internally the programs, the process, the progress. Everybody should know, hey, we set out with the reviews program, here's where we're at. We've launched the reference program 2 months after, here's where we're at. We've asked for customer feedback and whatnot, this is what we received. So make sure that you kind of share the inputs and repeat that. That's a little bit about building a strategy that actually helps you show success. Then you want to maintain solid collaboration with other departments. So you really want to be able to map who are the stakeholders in each department and what's in it for them internally. So sales is easy, right? What's in it for them? They want reference calls, they want logo usage, they want customer stories that can use as evidence. Even there, you could kind of talk about how that looks like. But what's in it for customer success? What's in it for product team, product marketers? What's in it for PR or, I don't know, event marketing? You want to be able to kind of tie into their goals. How can my program, how can my advocacy program help you succeed? And just create those kind of internal alignments and collaborations. Then you want to be super specific on how you work with them. Like create a playbook. Hey, we're doing a CAB. We're launching it this month. We want you to nominate people by this date and let them know. We'll decide who's in the CAB by that date. So be very, very specific on what you expect them to do, whoever they are, and how fast, what is your SLA for them? When are you going to help them have people in the CAB or speakers in the event or the references? And then track and ask them, how was that? How was that speaker? How was that reference? How did that help? That creates a lot of collaboration. When you have those discussions internally, people have kind of in their mind, they're thinking more and more of you and your programs and how they can leverage you more, and how great it is to work together with you because you help them, engage their customers. So super important. And then basically what you want to do as part of the cross-department collaboration is kind of give them access and transparency. They should be able inside Salesforce or just with an email update to see what's happening. Hey, we had so-and-so nominations for our reference program, or these are the customers that are most active in our reference program, or hey, we have 95 new pieces of content, or we had a strategic goal to get more content in the finance sector and we got 5 new ones this quarter. So all of those things are super important because it helps collaboration. They see that when you work together, you actually achieve joint goals. Another thing is to give them kudos. So you should say, this person is nominating a lot and they're helping us meet our goals in reference program. Or this person helped us get this CSM, helped us get this amazing finance customer story we were waiting for. Because when you kind of give them the kudos, they will then be sure to give you it back and help you with that. Next thing, third thing is basically looking at how do you grow nominations and how do you create repetition within your program. And I think what you want to do there is first of all, have multiple methods of kind of growing your pool. A lot of people think of nominations. We'll have CSMs nominate or we'll have sales nominate. That's just one method. It's great, but it's just one. And sometimes it works. Sometimes you need to kind of beg and ask them to keep on doing it. So what are other ways? Maybe you want to have a trigger-based. Easy trigger to think about is, hey, NPS, they gave us a 9 or 10 in NPS. Of course, we want to reach out to them, but that's a simple trigger. What about other triggers? What about stuff like they were active in the community? So that's a trigger for us to reach out to them and ask them if they can also be in our program. What about having, just invites for a bulk of customers that have been participating in your events or have that as a trigger? So a lot of different ways to think about how I add more people to my programs and what is the initiation for that beyond nominations. And then the other things you want to make sure is basically you want to make sure that the whole thing is kind of visible for the entire company, because really nominations can come from beyond usual suspects like salespeople or CSMs. Think about the product people. If they're doing product interviews or they're talking to beta customers, couldn't they also nominate them to other programs? If the support team, not just the CSM, has just closed a ticket and the customer is happy or whatnot, couldn't they nominate them to the program? So think kind of broadly of how you share with other departments so they help you grow the pool and understand your program, but also help you get people in them. Then, you want to have triggers not only for nominations, you also want to have triggers for repetition. So programs succeed when there's constant repetition of what's happening. If they kind of become styled and, stale people kind of are not engaged. So for example, one simple example is, okay, we want reviews, we want to renew them annually. Let's just create a trigger for that. And 360 days after your first review, we'll send you another email or another insert and say, hey, you did a review last year. It was amazing. Can you do another one now? Or what about if people participate in an event? Hey, can you give us feedback about the event? After the feedback, hey, can you join a program or do this or do that? If they've done an upsell, basically you want to create a trigger saying, can we get that story of why you chose to upsell to this feature? So one way to create repetition within your programs is to just make sure that you choose moments and times or triggers that help you create a new ask, something new to that customer that is contextual to them, but is also streamlined and automated. Otherwise, you have to do it manually all the time. The other thing is you want to make the repetition valuable. So, for example, you create your program in a framework where you say, hey, the more you engage, the more you get access to or a better status in the program. It's kind of miles and more, frequent flyer programs. The more you fly, the more points you get, the more access you get to Ambassadors Club or whatever. Same idea, loyalty program stuff, but you want to make sure that they understand that if they do the next 3 things and they do them in the next 3 months or in the next month or in the next week, they can reach this tier or this status. They can get more access or more availability of other things. The last thing you want to do is you want to track everything, of course, and see what works and what doesn't. Some triggers will work, some won't. Some nominations will work, some won't. And you want to spiff. You want to really, at least for people who are doing nominations, that you want to do nominations in a more programmatic manner, spiffs always work. Sales, CSMs, you create a quarterly spiff or whatever. You just say, guys, we're going to measure. We're going to show who's the champion. We're going to create a competition and we're going to give you a reward. Not for everybody, for the leaders. And I get another great quote here from Lewis from Alteryx. Basically, he's talking about how they created 3x improvement in driving third-party reviews, and they did that, in less than half of a quarter, like half of the time, versus previous year and previous programs that they ran. So when you create those kind of triggers and repetitions and automation, you can create better results. This is a little bit about tracking within Salesforce, within the product and whatnot. Next thing, I think this is probably the most important thing, make it contextual. Customer engagement at scale has to be contextual. So first thing, and Liz and Dina from Captivate Collective always talk about kind of advocacy 1.0 and advocacy 2.0. Thank you, Liz and Dina. So what you want to be able to do is kind of move to that 2.0. You want to make advocacy and engagement more personalized, more journey-based, and really, not something that's gated just for specific people, but it really is cross your touch points, cross your customer base. And the way to do that is to think about how we can leverage automation to trigger the right activity, the right call to action to the right customer in the right time through the right channel. Some people will engage with you in email. Some people will log into a program portal hub. Some people will do it through the community. Some people will do it through the product with in-app messages. Some people might do it in Slack. You want to be able to engage your customer base where, when, and how they want to, but you want to do it contextual in the sense that it's meaningful for them. Did they just write something in the community? Let's take that and say, hey, thank you for contributing in our community. Can you also speak in our event? Did they just, for example, finish a course? Hey, it's amazing that you just finished that course. Let's celebrate it. And by the way, can you give us feedback? Great feedback. Can you go write a review on G2 or, Trust Radius and whatnot? So they just upsell, let's talk about that feature. Why did you upsell, capture that upsell story and so on and so forth. So, you want to be able to understand their journey with you, where they're at, and then contextually reach out to them based on that last action. And that action doesn't have to be advocacy. It's an engagement action, and take it to the next level with them. And this makes a huge difference. You really want to build a journey. You want to be able to say, this customer is now onboarding. Let's engage them on onboarding. This customer has now, been super active with our academy, with our community, with whatnot. Let's make them an advocate. This customer is now upselled, let's capture that. build individual journeys for individual customers based on what's relevant for them. Let's talk about walking the walk and talking the walk. So basically, your voice of customer should be heard inside the company. This is another crucial issue for you to be able to kind of convey the message internally and succeed. So you want to leverage the voice of customer and kind of push it to every department. One way of doing that, for example, is creating mini CABs, mini customer advisory boards per division. Why don't you have why is CAB only for executives and for the CEO? Why isn't CAB also for a product CAB, a service CAB, a sales CAB, and so on and so forth? So marketing CAB. Why can't each department meet with several customers every quarter or every 6 months or every year? How do you make sure that you take customers' feedback and push it internally to the company and make it a customer-obsessed company and a customer kind of oriented company? Share surveys data, share review data. So one of the things that we do is we push the reviews into Salesforce, and that way everybody in Salesforce, when they look at the account and when they look at the contact, they can also look at the review. And that, it helps, it gives context about what this customer is happy and not happy about, what they told us and whatnot. Share those in all hands and whatnot. And a great way to do that is getting executive sponsorship. HubSpot is an amazing example because their CEO, Yamini, she's the executive sponsor. She has customer meetings and everybody's talking about a customer feedback. They have a team that captures that. And all departments, sales, CS, marketing, they all kind of product, they all sit and talk once a month about that feedback and how they can solve for that customer or how they're improving. So you want that type of executive sponsorship, of course. Then number 6, you want to be able to track and attribute. Everything we said is amazing, but without the proof, without the tracking, without the attribution, it will be very hard to get people to listen and to get more budgets. So you really need to measure what matters. And if you like it or not, what matters is dollars. So at the end of the day, you need to agree on KPIs that you track with your management team. But you must have at least several KPIs that are oriented to attribution. I think this is where customer marketing is evolving to understand also the revenue influence, the value of that. You want to be able to show, for example, deal closure rate with and without references or with or without content. You want to be able to show how much the reviews have generated leads that converted into closed won deals. You want to be able to show on an account level, a company level, how much they as a company have contributed in sense of the number of customer stories they've done, the reference calls, referrals, and how much as an account they contributed to all the advocacy and attribution of revenue. So you need to choose 3-5 KPIs with your management that you measure on and be sure that some of those are dollar oriented. They can't just be number of advocates. That's not, if you think that's important, it's fine that that's one KPI. But it's not just about that. It should be much more dollar oriented or how this is influencing revenue. Super important. And then last thing is sharing your success. So we all need to blow our horn or, beat the drum, or you can dance a hora if you're, Jewish. But anyway, at the end of the day, you want to be able to kind of make sure that everybody knows what you're doing. We're advocating for our customers internally. We're turning them into champions and advocates in their industry. We're also helping them grow their personal brand in their companies and in their industry. But what about us? What about creating our own brand in our own companies? And this is, super important. So make sure that you're also a customer marketer of yourself. One way of doing that is just reports and dashboards. Like, people love numbers. They love to see the graphs. They just love to see that, hey, you've created that and that influence on revenue. You've created that and that amount of customer stories. When they see it in a graph and a number, they just, it clicks differently. So you have to have numbers that you share every quarter in graphs and dashboards or every month. You have to elevate others, like we mentioned. Give kudos, elevate other teams that are helping your program, because they would actually reciprocate and then elevate your program and share your success because you're sharing their success. You need to create kind of snippet mentions. Hey, there's an all hands, or there's a team meeting, or there's a whatever, you meeting somebody on the coffee corner. It doesn't really matter, or on a Zoom call. 5 words, 1 slide, it doesn't matter, but just say, hey, did you know that we just achieved this, this, and that? So you can also create mini content where you elevate your program and elevate your achievements. It doesn't have to be only once a quarter, 2 slides in the team meeting, and that's it. No, make it super, super constant and in small chunks as well. You could even make a Slack channel and just talk about, success, and whoever wants to look in it and see what's happened, can look into it. And very important to get an executive sponsor to help you with all that stuff and basically push your message also in the management team. That's it. I think we have now a few minutes to actually take some questions and answers. I hope this helped you and generated some value in 7 ways that you could actually make your programs super successful, like we've shared other companies are doing. Happy to share this information, and hit me with questions. Thank you.
Hi, Del. Thanks so much. That was really, really great. I've got some questions from the audience now. So do you advise companies to plan and strategize by themselves or consult with others?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think it's always great to consult with others, right? You can, again, we talked about the Slack community. Go ahead and consult with others in the Slack community. Find a buddy and that's done a program and talk to them one-on-one in a Zoom meeting. That this industry is amazing with people that are happy to share, so have them share. There's also companies and agencies that are happy to help and consult, quite a few of them in the industry. I won't mention names, but you can reach out to those, or you can reach out to us and we'll connect you to those. But I think it is good to have external information, external proof points, external validation to what you want to achieve with your programs.
And what metrics do you focus on to determine the OKRs of your customer marketing program?
That's a good one. So we love the OKRs framework, but in our customer marketing programs, we look at several things. So like I said, the first KPI or the first metric would be revenue influence. And revenue influence would come from influence on sales calls, with reference calls and deals that were closed, content that were used and supported deals that were closed, whether it's a new deal or an upsell deal, reviews, referrals, whatever. So anything that eventually led to a new deal or helped close a new deal, again, whether it's a new deal or a renewal or recurring upsell deal, that's the number one. I think the other metrics and KPIs that we look at are actually engagement, because there's very clear research and data about the more customers are engaged, the more that they will retain, right, and become loyal. So if you want to show how you influence retention, one of the ways to show how much engagement we get from these accounts and these customers, and then eventually within a year or 2 years, you'll see that those actually retain better. So measuring engagement is kind of an indicator for eventually retention. That's another one. And I think the last one would be quality. People sometimes forget about quality, but we try to measure in programs and OKRs things like the value. So for example, I gave the example of enterprise versus SMB. So if you as a company are now focused on enterprise and need enterprise customer stories, or a specific segment or a specific title, you need VPs, then the quality matters. And it's more important to have maybe 10 of those than have 10 customer stories from VPs and enterprise companies or whatever, Fortune 500 companies, versus 90 stories from SMBs. So that would be another metric, like hitting on some quality metrics.
That's a great answer, thank you. And I'll do one more question. So how do I encourage collaboration, or even more importantly, get executive buy-in for more collaboration?
How to get more executive buy-in?
Yeah, for collaboration.
So I think that it starts with what we mentioned, which is kind of what's in it for them. Ideally, meet those executives or those teams and kind of tell them, listen, forget about my program. What are your programs? What are your KPIs? What are you trying to achieve? And I'll help you think how my program supports that. I'm here for you, Jerry Maguire, help me help you. So it's basically like, ask them what are they trying to achieve this quarter, this year, and think how customer programs, whatever they are, help them. I'll give an example. So if you want executive buy-in from the customer success organization, maybe talk to them about, okay, what are, you want to improve retention, of course, your customer success. So let's talk about how we can do that through customer marketing and advocacy and improve that and what programs work. You want to acknowledge customers and appreciate them. Well, customer marketing programs and advocacy have rewards and whatnot, and champions and badges and certifications and whatnot. So help them understand how your programs can basically help them achieve their goals, not your goals. and you'll get ideally executive buy-in from that specific department. And I would go one by one executive, one by one department, and understand their KPIs and their goals, and then tell them or help them understand how you help them.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. Thank you so much, Gal. It's been an amazing session and really glad to have you involved with the summit as well. So speak to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Welcome back to the Customer Marketing Summit. We're about to join another amazing talk, but just before we do, I wanted to say a huge thank you to our sponsors, speakers, and you, our wonderful audience, for making this event possible. Expert presentations and inspirational discussions on the agenda, you're in for a real treat today. Please ensure you are sharing your feedback and asking all questions in the comments section of the video, as our speakers will be answering them throughout their session. After the event, a great place to continue the conversation is in the Customer Marketing Slack channel. I'll be posting the sign up link regularly in the comments, so if you're not already involved, keep your eyes peeled and join the discussion. And remember, you can gain on-demand access to all of our exclusive footage with a PMA Pro membership or an Access All Areas pass. So with all this in mind, let's dive back in.
Another session with a couple of influitive customers who exude passion and know how to rally stakeholders and teams around customers. It's hard not to develop an impactful advocacy program if Tim Newborn, Dave Hansen, and the rest of this panel are behind it.
Welcome to today's panel discussion, Developing Impactful Advocacy Programs. In the last year or so, there's been incredible growth within advocacy and customer marketing. Recently, LinkedIn reported the role of customer marketing managers the third fastest growing job title in the US. Others, like Forrester and Influitive's 2022 State of Customer Marketing, have loudly declared that this is the year of customer marketing. So with that said, for this panel, we wanted to come together to discuss some of the critical building blocks and best practices to not only develop an impactful advocacy program, but to make customer obsession a mindset across your organization. Before we get started, I just want to do some quick introductions. My name is Dave Hansen. I'm the Customer Marketing Director at LRN. We're a B2B organization focused on ethics and compliance solutions that help people around the world do the right thing. Today, I'm wearing a couple of hats. I'm going to be the moderator as well as a panelist. I think we should go around and meet the rest of the panel. Sinead?
Hi, my name is Sinead O'Grada, and I'm the head of SME marketing for EMEA at Meta. That means I've got responsibility for all of the activations, customer advocacy, and programming that support small and medium businesses to unlock economic opportunity and growth for their businesses in over 20 countries across the region.
Tim?
Thank you, Dave, and thank you to everyone joining us. Glad to be here with you and the other distinguished speakers on the panel today. Hey everyone, I'm Tim Newborn, Global Customer Marketing and Advocacy Manager at InVision, the visual collaboration platform powering the world's smartest companies. I was brought on board to stand up a new function, and I'm glad I was because the dedication to customer here at InVision is palpable. It shows in every interaction I have with my colleagues who have been so incredibly helpful in partnering across the business to inject customer voice and amplify customer empathy in everything we do, from growth to experience to product to culture and more, to ensure that we genuinely are a customer-powered enterprise.
Wonderful. And Josh?
Thanks, Dave. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Zirkle. I lead engagement marketing here at Asana. Engagement marketing for us includes Lifecycle, which are all the emails that we send people after they've signed up for Asana. So things like engagement, adoption, advocacy, and so on, as well as our community program, which is relevant to our discussion here today, which encompasses all of our ambassadors, community forum, and our over 200 community events every year. Excited to chat with everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for being here. I'm excited for this conversation. We are here live as well, so if you have questions throughout the session, please feel free to throw those into chat and we'll jump on those as soon as we can. So let's get to some of the questions for the panel. I like starting with the end result first, kind of see where we're headed. So what does advocacy mean for you and your organization? What's the potential impact that others could see through advocacy? I think Sinead, will start with you again.
Great. So I suppose for us at Meta, customer advocacy really means having the customer at the heart of everything that we do, and listening to and responding to what they need and want based on the current opportunities or headwinds that they may be facing in their particular market. A recent State of Small Business report from Meta saw that 21% of businesses worldwide are reporting being currently closed based on a lot of the really challenging environmental and macro conditions that we have. But those that have remained open, 81% have indicated that digital tools are helping them to maintain business growth. So I suppose that customer-led and insight-led approach really helps us to tell the story of the impact of our program and build momentum and opportunity for more growth and more expansion, more buy-in from stakeholders and so on. When we can really tie to tangible outcomes for our partners and our SMB businesses that we work with, whether that is helping them to stay open during challenging times, find and retain new employees, but also to support them to embrace digitization and to grow their business online, as well as bricks and mortar. Dave, back to you.
Thank you. Tim, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a great question. Customer advocacy really, it meets people where they are to exceed their expectations, and it does so in helpful and unexpected ways. I think it solves business challenges, both familiar and unique, with the simplicity of an open dialogue between a brand and the people who matter most to you and your business, which are your customers. And that means we can execute, better services, experiences, and even work smarter and offer more to our customers by doing so. Back to you, Dave.
Wonderful, thanks. Josh?
Yeah, for us at Asana, our mission is to help humanity thrive by helping the world's teams work together. And the way that we do that is by listening to them, and customer advocacy programs like our True Advocacy program and our community programs give us a direct line to our customers to hear what they want, what's working for them, the challenges they're having, so that we can better respond to them, meet their needs, and help them and their teams achieve what their missions are. So it really puts the customer's voice at the center of how we think and what we do in ways that feel very meaningful and impactful. And beyond just like what it's doing for customers, I think it actually helps us at the company be more empathetic to who they are and what they need.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. A couple of the big themes that I heard all of us touch on within that scope was listening, empathy, the customers at the center of what we do. Tim, I especially liked what you said. It meets people where they are. And for LRN, our customers, they sit in that ethics and compliance space. There's usually a handful of them within an organization. So they're almost on an island. So it's also being able to bridge that gap between organizations and let them meet each other and network and come together to actually build, something bigger than this. This is some of the parts.
I would also pick up on something that Josh said that really resonates for my team as well, is that kind of purpose element, or the sort of, I suppose it really anchors the team day to day in a really, I suppose, about how meaningful and how purposeful our work is when we're actually understanding these are real businesses, the inspiration that we kind of get from these amazing entrepreneurs who are, putting their neck out there, especially in such challenging times. And so that really helps our team, I think, to stay close to the mission of the company, to connect businesses all over the world and to connect them with their customers.
And if I could add one thing to what you were saying, Sinead, it's also just nice to hear from customers, hear what they have to say in an unstructured way, and advocacy and community programs really let you do that. I think for especially data-driven companies, which frankly most are at this point, it can be really easy to lean on just quantitative data about customers, but advocacy programs really let you hear in customers' own words what's going on for them, and ideally the difference that your company, your organization is making for them. And to me, that's really fun. And I think we're really lucky in these customer facing roles to be able to hear the voice of the customer directly, not as a concept, but really listen to them. And it just makes coming to work really enjoyable because I know that what we're doing helps them.
Tim, I think you were about to speak in there too. Did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting that we listen to what our customers are doing with their solutions and the way that we're helping them. But I also think that it's very beneficial that we listen to how we're helping our customer's customer and how we can quantify that, because that's ultimately at the end of the day what they're hoping to do. And if we can help them achieve their goals in a meaningful way, so that way they deliver better experiences and services, that's where I see we can truly shine as customer marketers and advocacy professionals.
Oh gosh, we're absolutely on the same page there. One of my favorite questions to ask my customers is just that: what keeps you up at night? What do you have nightmares about? What do you get excited about the next morning? Those are the things I think that help drive some of this. But I guess we've talked about some of these great outcomes. What can come from advocacy? There's a lot that can go into this. Where does somebody start? What was your process for getting your program off the ground? I think Tim will maybe start with you on this.
Sure, great question. And I think there's a disconnect sometimes between what your company may want to happen versus actually what needs to happen. Those could be two different things, and only your customers can really tell you what that difference might be. In my opinion, I think regardless of what your goals are, the very beginning of advocacy starts with learning as much as you can about your customer, about their customers, about your product, and about the foundational business objectives of your organization, so that not only are you making sound database decisions on how to move forward, but also when it's time to do so, you're asking the right questions to the right people at the right time. Not to divert us here, but as an example, and something that really leans into the question, is a trip I had when I was younger. I had the opportunity to visit the Huntsville Space Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and I hadn't thought about it since then. I mean, I was probably 15, but it gave me an opportunity to view a couple of different types of rockets. And I think that there are close similarities between what we do in advocacy, in that we have fuel rockets, which are the short-term, faster, but don't necessarily go far initiatives. And they kind of rely on the subsystems to kick in order to travel the rest of the way, such as an immediate rush to get quotes or customer stories to our sales team. And then we have these ion thrusters, which take longer to build, they're more sophisticated, and usually require our minds, more minds around the planning table to have perpetual energy, and it really uses the environment around them to grow, such as building a formalized program to combat customer exhaustion. Both have a role and they are necessary to complete the journey, but often you have to build both of them simultaneously. You can start scrappy, but you should also be planning for the future.
I like that very much. Sinead.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo what you've said, Tim. And I think our approach at Meta in general is around kind of piloting and then scaling for the longer term, in terms of thinking longer term impact. And that's exactly how we started our SME advocacy efforts, was to pilot the program framework and through lightweight channels, forums, before making those longer term investments. Because again, we can only stay in pilot mode for so long. I think it then requires sustainable investments in infrastructure and tooling, and we'll probably come on to this later on, to really maintain effective longer term programming. But very much that pilot and proof of concept approach to prove the value, and also gain insights, learnings, what's working, what's not, before really investing bigger and building the foundation to support ongoing growth.
I think both of you have brought up very great points here. I think another part that's important, and it's something that was very beneficial at LRN, I think there's a huge benefit in also being able to bring in that cross-functional buy-in from stakeholders as you build a program. Not after it launches, not building the plane as it goes, but being able to have those stakeholders. Because I think as you're talking about advocacy and you're bringing in clients and you get that voice of customer, it helps you build that deeper bench. It's not just there are some relationships with some people in your organization, but more people have those relationships. You get more transparency into the voice of customer, also the broader set of work that's happening. And I think it also provides that little bit of, there's something for everyone. And that's another fun component of this, right? You have roundtables, client roundtables. You have opportunities to weigh in on case studies. You have forums for them to have discussions. There's kind of like different angles and approaches for each of those. So having, for us, buy-in from across the organization is super valuable. Have any of you had similar experiences? How did you go about getting buy-in across your organizations?
Well, for me, I was brought in to create the program from scratch. Nothing existed, which is both exciting and utterly terrifying because, as it turns out, there are lots of different opinions on what programs like these can do. And so in order to help illustrate that, the first thing I did to gain stakeholder buy-in was I convened probably the biggest meeting I've ever convened in my entire professional career. I think there were like 20 or 25 leaders from around the company who I got in one room. And basically, I just asked them all the question. I run the community program. So I said, how would you define community? And what would you like to see the program achieve here at Asana? And I think there were like 25 different answers. And that actually, I think, was very illustrative for everyone in the room of like, hey, we can do all sorts of different things with this program. We have customers in the program, which means we can tap them for all sorts of different needs that we might have. But what are the core things that we want to do? And in that meeting, we were able to really narrow down what the things that we need the most from this program are, and what are the ways that we primarily want to serve customers via this program. And having that as our really program kickoff, I feel like it really set us up in a good spot because it raised a lot of awareness for some of the challenges that come with a program that can be so vast and so all-encompassing, but it also helped gain some initial alignment on here are the things that we've agreed on together that are most important. I think without that, I would have had very choppy waters to sail through when I needed to go to these teams to ask them for resources, help, information, support, and then deliver things to them that were an outcome of our program. Having that at the very beginning was really, really helpful.
That's great. And Sinead, I know you and I had talked about this previously a little bit too, but what's your take on that, on being able to kind of gain alignment to make sure that your program is set up for success, that it's not competing or clashing, or that everyone kind of has that same set of priorities?
Totally. I mean, I think building on what Josh was saying there as well, clarity on what everyone sees good looking like in terms of key stakeholders or, sponsors of the program, getting that alignment with them. And what's worked for us as well at Meta is, I suppose you touched on, Josh, there in terms of getting that expansive set of stakeholders across the business, because how can this program deliver both for, say, the marketing organization at the core, but also have payoff for cross company or broader, external stakeholder facing organizations like comms or policy and so on. And when that's clear, I think a few things that I would say is, I suppose identifying the key stakeholders or sponsors that are either from an investment or a sign off or an approval perspective. How do we intentionally keep them engaged throughout the process? So they might be happy with the concept or might get regular sort of, reporting momentum check-ins, but how can we actually keep it front of mind for them? So can they take part in client check-in calls? Can they host a networking event? How does it stay tangible and kind of, real for them? But also that and hopefully that, I suppose, momentum and alignment with them can also help to identify what our program, where it stops and starts, I suppose, within the organization, and what it does or doesn't do, and sometimes as important. And within that, then almost a reputation that this program is a place where we can foster or incubate new ideas that might crop up across the organization, rather than things happening in other parts standalone that don't, I suppose, benefit from the engine or infrastructure that we have. So we're the place to come and, I suppose, incubate or invest new ideas or test them out. And we've got that reputation to do that, rather than shadow or parallel programs happening, which could be great ideas, but then again, will burn out if they don't have that back end infrastructure, like we said earlier, to kind of maintain them.
Awesome, thanks. So I think kind of moving along as we're building this advocacy program together and talking through some of these practices, one of those other challenges that I think many folks that are new to these roles might face is the operational aspect of developing the program. So let's spend a little bit of time. Let's talk a little bit about systems, tooling, legal, resourcing. How do you even start to comprehend all of the inputs needed to launch a program? Sinead, thoughts?
I suppose this is critical, crucial, but often hidden or maybe not as fun part of the program, or the hidden element. I kind of touched on it earlier. To have a sustainable program that's effective over the long term, this is really important. I suppose what we would have done, and this evolves year over year, and as new regulation environments come in, or considerations like GDPR for us in Europe, as an example, was a big thing, area that we had to sort of run through the program elements. But I suppose bringing together And again, it's back to that stakeholder, sponsor, and alignment to unlock resources from teams like legal, sourcing, operations, and so on, to both set it up, but then to also have the ongoing support to maintain, whether that's for reporting or customer experience, and so on, like moderation, whatever the different things might be. But I suppose almost quantifying as well that this is, may look like a large line item on a budget tracker, but it's actually really important, like quantifying, I suppose, the impact of it, or if it wasn't there, what the risk would be as well.
That's a really good point. When we start looking at advocacy programs too, as it looks like a very big number in terms of a cost that's there, but it's probably a whole new session to talk about how we quantify ROI and how all the different elements of where you're seeing some of that return coming from these programs. Related to this for me, myself, and I think we'd all kind of were joking before about some of the mistakes that we've made standing up programs. And this is one of the ones for me, was not brainstorming enough of what are all of the actual costs that go into it. Sure, we can talk people, we can talk systems, we can talk hours, but then it's also thinking of what will I actually need to help create some of those moments of delight. What actually goes into some of those that I just didn't necessarily scope out enough in the past that I wish I spent more time on. Tim or Josh, any additional thoughts there?
I think for me, there's sometimes at the beginning, you don't know what you don't know. And especially when you are, like I was, new at an organization, you don't always know all the different ins and outs of how to get the resources that you're needing and that you'll need along the way. So I think for me, I had to map out the program that I wanted to create. And as I socialized it, that's when I was able to determine this piece is missing. I'm going to need this additional resourcing. Here are some potential legal pitfalls. I'll need to loop in the legal team on this. And I think for me, even though we had a very solid plan that we designed at the outset, a lot of it was discovery along the way of the pieces that are missing, the things that are needed, the resourcing that we'll have to secure. But what was nice about that is as I was socializing the program, even though I was identifying places where I might need help, because I was getting buy-in along the way, it actually greased the wheels for me to be able to get access to those resources and get that help and support. So I wish it were possible to know everything you're going to need up front. If you know how to do that, please reach out to me and let me know, because I haven't figured that one out yet. But I think if you go into conversations with a solid hypothesis and plan, and you let people know, like, I might be asking you for support, would you be interested in partnering with me? I think people are pretty open. And what I found is people are very excited about programs like these, and they often want to participate if you give them an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And I think also that it helps with, I think, fostering internal empathy as you stand up a program, right? The more you can share about the different intricacies that go into every aspect of advocacy, whatever it happens to be, whether it be legal sign-offs or end of interaction, thank you, expressions of gratitude. There are so many different processes that need to take place. And I think oftentimes a lot of people who want to engage in these type of practices don't necessarily understand the level in which you have to be considerate. So for me, coming into a new organization and into a new function, essentially, I'm looking at things like what currently exists, what are the tool sets we have, what are the programs that may have been stood up in the past, such as NPS programming, things that we need to evaluate to determine, does it in fact reflect the way that we need to move forward today? Is it helping our business objectives for today? Where do we need to supplement? And then where do we need to spin up or even kill things that are in existence that isn't serving our business objectives in terms of customer engagement? And so from that lens, it's been very beneficial for me to get really good grasp on where we need to focus and prioritize our time, effort, and energy.
This conversation is making me think of a lot of things. There have been a few keywords that have keep popping up so far. Empathy, I think, has come up. Tim, you just mentioned being considerate. Josh, before that, you talked about discovery. This makes me think about who are the people who should be in these roles. Tim, you had mentioned skill set and tool set. What are some of those other attributes? I mean, I think to me, one of the key ones that always rings true is, and it relates back to the you don't know what you don't know, is the ability to adapt and be flexible and to be able to pivot as quickly as possible. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think
Go ahead, Tim, sorry.
No worries at all. I think an easy example could be it's very simple. Something along the lines of, if you have a CSAT scoring system in place, if you have an NPS survey in place, what is the methodology behind that? Who's the target audience for that? How are these surveys executed? What are the triggers in place to follow up with those who are on the end of the feedback? And allowing everyone in the organization that will potentially use this information understand how that process works, so they know it's not just simply an end objective outcome that they're seeing, but rather all of the work that goes into it. And I think that can really help foster a sense of wanting to partner more deeply and making sure we're asking, again, the right questions, or we're doing things that, again, move business objectives forward unilaterally.
Josh, were you going to add to that too?
Tim covered it beautifully.
Cool. I would say as well, kind of being an agile builder, you know, in terms of the type of people that, to your point, Dave, can kind of flex and adapt as needed. Being customer obsessed as well, which I think we all are, and that empathy or sort of that purpose driven really fires you on through challenges, or to kind of continue to push for excellence. But builders that are agile, I think, has been a common theme, and, you know, the amazing team members that we have.
Awesome, thanks. So let's shift a little bit here and talk about audience. When you're building out an advocacy program, are there any segmentation considerations? Who gets included into an advocacy program when we're thinking about customers?
Yeah, for me, I think about this in terms of like what the goals of my company is as it relates to these programs. So it's probably worth noting that at Asana, there is a customer advocacy program with a capital C, capital A, that sits under the revenue organization, which is designed at building high touch relationships with key customers. I run the community program, which is designed to serve everybody else. So all of the people who are team leads, people who are both at companies whose names you know and names you don't, but the people who are actually doing the work in Asana, not just the decision makers. Both constituencies are very important for not just talking with them and making sure we're hearing what they need, but because we have different goals as a business for what we want to do with each of these different groups. Coming to those conclusions, building that alignment within the business of like, these are different programs that serve these different segments of the market, was really critical, because it's easy to assume one program can just do it all if you're not really familiar with the intricacies of how these programs work. And when my partner, who's on the customer advocacy side, and I started working together, we were able to intersect our programs in really beautiful ways, where if you're at a company, at one of our customers, we have a program that's designed for you if you're the VP. And we also have a program that's designed for all the people who report to you. And everyone gets what they need at different levels of the organization. And so that's where, for me, having a really strong partner within the organization and being really clear on what the segmentation is has been really, really critical, both to how we design our programs and what the elements within them are, and to the overall success of the programs that we run. And as a side benefit, it makes it easier for us to explain within the company what we do and who we're serving.
Has a little bit of swim lanes there too.
Yeah.
That's all very interesting. For us, that's the segmentation piece is very important. I mean, I think, like most of you, serve many different industries, and they all have different regulations. I mean, again, sitting in ethics and compliance, what might be a requirement for a manufacturing organization is going to be different from healthcare, from finance, from software. And so as we're thinking about some of these experiences that we're having, the experiences also have to change along the way to match those different varied requirements. And it's not just industry too. I mean, we also serve different roles. It's not just, an ethics and compliance officer. It's also HR. There are IT people that interact with us. And then roles that are from, associate up to C-level, the C-suite. So the segmentation piece is absolutely important. We just have one broader community program. We don't necessarily split it up in others, but seeing how the interactions and the engagement works has also made us start digging into and looking at, does it make sense to also create an employee advocacy program, which again is probably a whole nother session with a whole different speaker lineup, but just some of the things we're thinking about.
Another element of segmentation we're thinking through the lens of is diversity and inclusion as well, and having, you know, whether that's from lived experience, cultural, like female entrepreneurs, Black-owned businesses, and so on, you know, depending on the markets. And that really enriches, I suppose, the community interactions themselves. And also, I suppose, really aligns to a really important pillar and, you know, the way that we go to market anyway at Meta across the board. But that's something where we would offer the same level of programming. We might have some specific content or activations that are addressing needs that are unique to some of those different audience groups within the overall program. And another insight that's interesting for us, and it probably is similar whether you're a marketing lead or else, like for us, you know, small business owner or entrepreneur, you're wearing multiple hats ultimately, right? So how do we kind of cut through where you could be the, you know, the HR person, the marketing person, making the bunch of flowers, if you're a florist or whatever that your business may be. So how can we be kind of truly valuable or, you know, meaningful and supporting you where you are, or, you know, at the time and this one's relevant to you in your business?
A few things I heard and I both agree with is community and employee advocacy. And I think that's where a lot of those DEI touch points could come into play. So for instance, if we are hoping as a brand to get our customers more engaged on a cultural level, or hoping to see different variations of cohorts pop up or different groups that we would like to engage with, we need to offer them an equitable amount of employees who can sort of speak to that community mindset that may align with them from a DEI standpoint. So the more we spin up employee advocacy programming to get people social about our brand who actually are part of it, it would create different inroads for then customers or even prospects to engage with their employees. So I think to a certain degree, employee advocacy is a really foundational piece to customer advocacy if you're looking to have that sort of communal interaction.
Wonderful, thank you. So I think moving right along with some of these other questions that we have here, you know, another thing that has been on my mind in terms of our advocacy program, I've spent most of my career in higher education, and one of the tenets of higher education is the idea of continuous improvement. Every process kind of falls into this cycle that's, you know, you're planning, implementing, collecting, analyzing, sharing, improving, and then you keep going back around again. It's never closed. It's always evolving, always improving. And I guess that's the way that I look at our program as well, is we're always thinking about what are those data points. And I think this has already come up in a couple of different ways. The data mindset, being able to take a look at where are people engaging, how are they engaging, are the right kinds of people that we expected to be engaging and testing our own theories to kind of continuously improve our own program, but also, you know, drive engagement. What does your development process look like? How have any of you focused on improving your programs over time?
I wish I could say that our program is done at some point. I don't think it will ever be done. As I've been at Asana 4.5 years, our company has grown like exponentially during that period, which is fantastic. And with that brings whole sets of changes that need to happen to all programs that happen within the company. And so as it relates to the program that I lead, we've basically upended it multiple times based on what customers are telling us that they need and want out of the program. Like our event series that we do, we've evolved the content based on what they're telling us, based on the attendance numbers that we see, based on the feedback that we get after. And so there's for every single part of the program, a loop by which we can hear from customers what they want, what they need, what's working, and most importantly, what isn't, so we can stop doing that. And then simultaneously, we have opportunities to connect with our partner teams within the organization to hear, is what we're doing to help support your work via ours helpful? What more could we do? What ways could we modify how we give you information, the information we collect? Soup to nuts, like, are we doing something that's useful and meaningful for you and helping support our customers? And so I don't think this is a process that's ever complete. community programs, advocacy programs are living and breathing organisms, just like our customers are. And so in order to meet them and help support them, I would build in a healthy opportunity into every program of like, hey, periodically we're going to take a pause, look at what we're doing, review what's working, and jettison what isn't, and come up with something new. To me, that's part of the fun, also sometimes part of what's exhausting, but it's all part of what makes this mix really interesting, and at the end of the day, hopefully very effective for our customers.
I absolutely love the let's just take a pause and evaluate. Let's take that breath. It's so much easier to say than to do, though. There's always, and I think this comes back to Tim, something I've heard you say several times is priorities. It takes being able to set your own priorities so you have time to pause, so you're not being hit by 100 other things, so you do have time to evaluate, so you can go around. Any thoughts on not to harp on the priorities piece, but Tim, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think some of that naturally comes from my background as a veteran, because after any large operation, we would have an AAR, which is an after action review. And so that is that moment of pause where we look at what we did and determined what worked well, what didn't, and what we need to adjust. And so I've heard a couple of things as well in terms of what we talked about that, speak to inclusivity, alignment, clarity, illustrating value. And I really love all of those things because, to a certain degree, seeing is believing, and visual and collaboration has really been beneficial for me in getting other people on board to help optimize systems. Even right now, I'm having conversations internally about how do we structure data in a meaningful way for advocacy. That way of communicating really inspires every kind of work across the board, regardless of, someone's hierarchy or, if you have the capability to bring them into even something like a freehand canvas, which is what I use to communicate customer marketing and advocacy, it, puts us in the center. Number one, we're using the product that we're asking our customers to use, but then it fosters a sense of empathy that a spreadsheet alone wouldn't allow, because it gives us a full, clear, illustrative picture. And not only that, but we can put programming in, and then also CTAs for how to get involved with this programming, how to help us if you see something off with this programming. And that's what I'm hopefully looking to structure out by the end of Q2 for programs that we see as priorities at the moment. How do we get relevant voices, both internally and externally, to help us flag where we can improve, how we can improve, and then report back to them on what that's going to take to improve, and if we need their collaboration or partnership.
Another thing I would add as well, just picking up on both Josh and Tim, your points, is definitely the space and the kind of willingness to start again or to rethink the program. At the same time, is there some tenets or principles or elements of the infrastructure that stay the same, so that if we've gone all the effort, to our point earlier, of getting the stakeholder buy-in and all the cross-functional alignment for the tooling back-end elements, what is just remains, and then what are the elements that we are going to adapt and build on, whether it's in response to customer feedback or environmental conditions and so on. So that's an interesting one as well, that we don't want to throw everything out. Sometimes that might be necessary, but if we've gone to all the effort of getting buy-in and alignment, how do we but to know what elements are stable, and then what can be pivoted and adapted as needed.
Yeah, to me, that's a super important point, because when we first designed our program, I designed multiple pillars to serve different constituencies of our customer base. And over time, it started to make more sense for a different team at Asana to serve a specific segment. And honestly, for me, coming to the realization that this was their home, our team was their home, but their home is now someplace else. It was like giving away one of my children. And working with my team and the other team where we gave this group of people over to serve them better, it was a really good decision, but it was a tough one. Because I think when you're in these roles where you're really involved with customers, as we are, it can feel like because you have a really good connection with them, and you know them, and ideally you know them by name and they know you, and saying hey, we've served you well, hopefully for the past X amount of time. Here's another team that we think is going to serve you better here into the future. Being able to take a hard look at your program and say, is this still working the way that we had intended? Does what we're doing still serve the purpose that we had originally designed this to? And are we the right team to serve these customers in this way moving forward? Asking ourselves those questions was really important. And sometimes the answer will be yes, we're still the right place. And sometimes it'll be no. And being able to adapt and adjust and put customers in the right programs to serve them is at the end of the day the most important thing. And I think it provided our team with the ability to say, like, hey, we designed it a certain way. It doesn't need to be that way forever. And we can make changes as we go so that we're serving the needs of the business and the needs of our customers.
That's kind of a proud papa moment. I mean, it's if we're the sparks of customer obsession across an organization, to see another group could better serve and to have them also fully accept that and want to take that on. Agreed. It's sad. You're like, I don't want to let you go, but it's also
my babies. It was really tough, but it was the right thing.
Yeah, it's also really exciting. It just means that advocacy is growing and other people are seeing it. This is a perfect segue to the next question that I wanted to ask. This isn't just about improving the quality and making sure that things are improving, but it's also about scale. How do you go from a small program to a large program, especially with a growing customer base? And how do you make sure it continues to meet needs over time?
I can pick that up first, Dave. At Meta, we've been really intentional about thinking about scale in the program. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm responsible for EMEA, which is, a large proportion of markets across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But we're actually part of a global program that operates out of the US and across other regions globally. So I suppose, how do we incubate and pilot within each of our regions and then scale from there? So we've been really intentional about thinking about what are the foundations of excellence, whether that's in terms of the customer experience, how we're moderating, how we're managing the community, how we're activating and how we're marketing the marketing or telling that story internally for buy-in and alignment, while also providing the space and opportunity for, I suppose, regional and local teams to address nuances or complexities that they may have, and often to test or pilot things, that can then be shared or scaled globally as well. Whether that's an environmental headwind, obviously something, a lived experience like COVID that everyone's gone through recently, but for example, thinking of our colleagues and businesses in Central and Eastern Europe at the moment and the really challenging situation that they're facing, and how, again, our regional team there will adapt and look at a recovery or crisis response lens when it's appropriate. So those kind of considerations, I suppose, where there's global consistency and, enablers of scale, but we're able to be agile and have nuances as needed.
I just love the phrase foundations of excellence. Mm-hmm. That's my new daily motto, my new affirmation.
Sinead, I think you hit on something very important and critical, regardless of what we do, and that is, if you don't know what good looks like, but you're asking your customer what good looks like, you have no way to benchmark or even how to move based on what they provide back in terms of feedback. So it's great to have a general understanding, whether it's process or experience or product, what do we anticipate good looking like, and we can move in any direction from there.
Josh, do you have anything to add as well?
Yeah, as for me, I think echoing a lot of what Sinead said, we have a global program, although when I started, there was no plan for it to be so. Other than that, we knew there would be some customers who might be interested outside the US, but at the time that I joined, there wasn't a huge international presence. And so one of the things that's been really awesome about running a program like this is we've been able to use the community program and community events as kind of the tip of the spear, where we would see beginnings of groups of people start to form groups of customers in a given geo. We would go and host an event there and then leverage that as a way to scale our presence in a given market. And over time, we've been able to significantly do that in specific regions. And now there are offices of Asana in specific regions where we have community leaders whose job it is to do much as Sinead mentioned, use the best of what we've created globally and then tailor it to what the needs of the market are. And that's really let us build a program that I feel like is very functionally strong, but locally relevant, in that we all on the community program speak the same language about what we're doing, but the way it gets expressed is different region by region. And that just helps us better meet the needs of our customers as we're growing and scaling in ways that are really important and meaningful to them in their own language, in their own region, and reflective of their own cultures.
Yeah, I think that's a very important piece. Being able to speak to people in their terms.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the time. We are getting very close to the end here. So I think since we're closing in on time already, what's one piece of advice that you would give someone who's on their advocacy program journey? Anyone want to jump up and take that one?
I can start maybe. Oh, sorry, Tim.
No, after you, Sinead.
I suppose we kind of touched on some of this earlier, but keep your North Star of the reason for being for the program, I suppose, clear throughout, both for the community and the company. And then as importantly, like, what are we not in service of? Because I think we've all touched on it, as inevitably opportunities, other ideas, noise like arises, that's a filter or a lens to kind of constantly come back to, is it in service of what we're here to do? And that can help to filter out, because there can be lots, that's a great idea, it just doesn't serve the mission of what we're trying to do. Or actually, yes, it does, and let's bring it in and see how we could, you know, test that out. But yeah, I would say that just that constant filtering of what are we in service of and not in service of.
I would say, you know, be aware that customer advocacy has many different through lines, and it's difficult to ask one person to digest all of it if it isn't their primary focus. So if you're looking to get people to back your ideas, if you're looking to bring people along for the journey, be bold, be brief, be gone. Get your ideas out clear, concisely, and as short as possible, and allow for those follow-up questions to come, because that's ultimately going to give you the touch points you need to build a relationship.
I would add, in addition to what Sinead and Tim have already shared, when you're not sure what to do in your program, ask your customers. They often have lots of ideas. You and your team might be like banging your head against a wall trying to figure out, this isn't working, what should we do? Or what should the next evolution of our program look like? Just ask them. They're the people who will be participating in it, and they probably have lots of thoughts and opinions. So don't be afraid to just say, like, we aren't sure what we're going to do next. We'd like to get your input. You'll be amazed at the type of feedback that you get and how well it can be actioned.
There's no question that's too small to go to our customers, or too big. I think I have asked every single variation of how do we improve this, or what do you think about this next? The advice I would give is actually kind of the same way we structure this panel today. I start with the end in mind and work backwards. Set those milestones and those benchmarks, and I think it then helps align some of those things. You know, being able to set priorities and make sure that you have the resources and the people in place to reach that end result. I can't believe how fast this time went. I want to thank Sinead, Tim, Josh for joining me today for this panel. Hopefully the rest of you were able to take out a few bits of meaning from today's session. I think we'll stick around for a little bit. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. But thank you again. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk very soon.
As the only 100% native reference management app for Salesforce, our solution lives where your salespeople live. This means that all your data and reference management functionality are hosted on Salesforce servers, managed in a world-class security infrastructure. There's just one familiar interface to use, which accelerates user adoption. Centralize all your reference assets, search for relevant accounts and customer content, automate reference account and content suggestions, the request process, and more. So say goodbye to that reference goat rodeo and say hello to Reference Edge.
These days, authentic customer reviews, referrals, and references are what buyers trust and value most when making purchasing decisions. That's where Influitive comes in. We're the advocacy, community, and engagement platform of choice for the world's most customer-obsessed brands, including Adobe, Cisco, IBM, and Mountain Dew. Our advanced targeting, personalization, gamification, and rewards drive extreme engagement and customer growth at scale. Let Influitive help you turn your customers into loyal advocates and grow your business.
Welcome to your PMA Pro membership, your gateway to continued professional product marketing development. Whether you're new to the industry or an experienced practitioner, we've covered all bases with our variety of specialist content, including on-demand presentations, templates, exclusive content, mentors, toolkits, learning paths, and more. So let's take a look at exactly what could be all yours as a Pro member. Starting with exclusive articles, jam-packed with in-depth insights from experts at companies like Google, LinkedIn, HubSpot, and Drift. And we add new pieces to your dashboard every single week. Your template hub is packed with 50 plus vetted and tested templates and frameworks designed to streamline fundamental processes. Used by companies such as Slack, Microsoft, Twitter, and TikTok, rest assured, you and your team will be equipped with the best materials to enhance your practice. And better yet, we add new templates into your plan every month. Here at PMA, we have a busy event scheduled year-round. And as a Pro member, you'll get access to every presentation on demand to enjoy whenever and wherever you please. Better yet, you won't have to pay a cent to attend our virtual festivals and summits. The discounts don't stop there either. As a Pro member, you'll also get 10% off our suite of certification programs. After a structured learning experience, then our product marketing learning paths and toolkits are for you. Whether you've got a positioning overhaul on the horizon, want to upskill in sales enablement, or plan for next quarter's product launch, each toolkit and path features presentations, templates, and guides that'll help you hit the ground running and continue your professional development furthermore. Moving on to our peer councils. They're the perfect platform for live, virtual interaction, and the monthly gatherings allow you to connect with an intimate pod of product marketing leaders to strategize and collaborate. And last but not least is our mentor program. Whether you want to be a mentor, mentee, or both, you can accelerate your personal and professional growth by learning from product marketing heavyweights all over the world. So, with product marketing teams at globally recognized brands such as IBM, TikTok, Uber, and Amazon reaping the benefits of the stellar content on offer, why shouldn't you? Sign up for your PMM Pro membership and access a never-ending flow of tried, tested, and recommended tactics, learn from the leading lights in the industry, fast-track your professional development, and accelerate your career trajectory.
Product marketing has grown to become one of the key pillars within an organization. And yet, a well-known frustration point within the community is that most of our colleagues still don't understand the daily responsibilities of a product marketer. But we wanted to break this cycle and shine a light on the incredible value that this role brings to the table, which is why we've designed a brand new book with this exact goal in mind. Product Marketing Misunderstood is guaranteed to equip you with the first-hand knowledge, techniques, and stories you need to amplify your role, establish your authority, and elevate your strategic value. Each chapter outlines and breaks down the most common product marketing principles, such as positioning, personas, segmentation, and OKRs, and flips them on their head to show you how applying your own trade on your colleagues and peers can give them the ultimate aha moment and finally understand what an influential and strategic asset you are. Page after page is filled to the brim with real-life actionable advice from the likes of Drift, Privy, Intercom, G2, Adobe, Zendesk, and more. And by the end of this book, you'll have the ultimate toolkit to present a formidable product marketing force around you and position yourself in a way that quite simply cannot be misunderstood. Want to be understood? Then read Misunderstood. Order your copy today. everyone, we hope you're enjoying the Customer Marketing Summit so far. Just before we jump into the next session, we're so excited to announce the launch of Customer Marketing Core Certified. With 55 chapters and 13 modules alongside fireside chats with contributors from Lessonly, Qualtrics, Hotjar, PitchBook, and more, we guarantee you'll receive all the actionable learnings you need to embody your customers and elevate your role. This certification will equip you with knowledge of the most up-to-date customer marketing trends and includes modules on personas, cross-selling and upselling, advocacy and community, storytelling, engagement and retention, just to name a few. Our brand new course will be launching on April 27th, so be sure to pre-register now to save $100. I'll be posting the link in the comments, so keep your eyes peeled. But for now, back to the Customer Marketing Summit.
Let's face it, prospects don't want to hear from marketing or sales, especially in the early buying stages. What they do want are authentic customer stories told in the first person. And that's the topic of our final session of the Customer Marketing Summit.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to How to Build Your Brand Through Customer Storytelling. In today's session, you will learn how to turn your customers into brand storytellers and how to leverage customer success stories to attract, engage, and convert prospects into raving fans, or in Salesforce's case, trailblazers. Jazz and I will be your trail guides for today's session. My name is Liz, and I'm a customer marketing manager at Salesforce. I have been in customer marketing for 3 years and currently lead our team that's focused on customer storytelling for Salesforce Professional Services, which is our business of certified Salesforce experts that help our customer trailblazers to continuously innovate and maximize their value on our platform.
Hi, everyone, and I'm Jasmine Dodd. I've been at Salesforce now for 7 years, the past 3 within customer marketing, where I currently am responsible for highlighting our most innovative manufacturing and automotive customers in joint marketing.
We have 3 stops on today's trail. First is customer marketing at Salesforce, what it is, the value of customer storytelling, and the impact it has on our brand and our business. Then we'll share exactly how we position joint marketing journeys that excite our customer trailblazers and deliver customer stories that wow our audiences. And finally, we will close with some top tips and best practices to consider as a customer marketer. So now our first stop of the day, customer marketing at Salesforce. Simply put, customer stories are the heart of Salesforce and our brand. Our customer marketing team cultivates strategic integrated marketing partnerships with our customers. We celebrate and elevate them to become world-class advocates that we call trailblazers, who tell authentic, inspiring, and relevant customer success stories that fuel our marketing strategy and campaigns and supercharge sales. Because when we talk to prospects and customers, we want to speak their language. So instead of leading with our technology, we really want them to hear about our success at NBC Universal, whose marketing teams can now reach new audiences 50% faster, and how e.l.f. Cosmetics is driving brand loyalty in a highly competitive market by deepening its digital customer experience. And we do this through the voices of our customers across all of our platforms, channels, and stages. Whether you visit our website, tune into a Salesforce Plus series, or attend one of our world-class events like World Tours and Dreamforce, our customer stories are front and center, and that is not a coincidence. It is intentional and by design. Through joint marketing partnerships, our customer marketing team engages with our most innovative customers like Starbucks, Honeywell, PayPal, and AT&T, among others, to amplify their brands and spotlight their thought leadership through opportunities that may include events, studio films, demos, PR, digital content, and even more. You can kind of consider this slide like a menu that a customer can order from, because each joint marketing partnership is tailored to that customer's interests and preferences and goals for telling their story. So no two partnerships are exactly alike, but all are really focused on getting the most juice out of our marketing squeeze. And we really work to repurpose and maximize customer interviews and content really thoughtfully by scaling each customer story across our channels and platforms for the widest reach and impact. And we do this because we know that customer stories are our most powerful assets. According to a Salesforce B2B content marketing trends report, customer testimonials and case studies are considered the most effective content marketing tactic. And according to Wyzall, a leading marketing video company, 9 out of 10 people say they trust what a customer says about a business more than what a business says about itself. And at Salesforce, time after time, it's our customers who are the real stars of our events and our marketing and even our sales conversations, which is unsurprising because technology marketing research firm Dimensional Research shares that 90% of buyers claim that positive customer success content was influential in their purchasing decisions. Now that you've heard all about customer marketing at Salesforce, I will hand it over to Jasmine to share more about how we bring the wow to our customer stories.
Thanks, Liz. So we've simplified this into 3 steps. First, it's all about understanding company priorities and driving internal alignment to identify and champion your most compelling customer stories, and then strategizing for the best places for these customer stories to show up. And then for me, that's where the fun part begins. Understanding your customers' priorities, positioning the joint marketing journey, and ultimately securing their interest. And once they say yes, the execution, scaling and promoting the content across your company's channels to increase the reach of your story. So let's dive in further. At Salesforce, we truly have amazing customers innovating on our platform. It's so hard for us to prioritize. But as we build our customer marketing strategy for the year, we work to understand our marketing priorities and drive alignment to select our most strategic customers that align to those priorities. So we consider the overall marketing strategy, what the company narratives and priorities that are most important for our executives. We also understand those big marketing moments we have upcoming for the year, whether that's product launches, new acquisitions, maybe even untapped markets we're focusing on, or regional needs that will need customer stories to help fuel the business. Simultaneously, we qualify those customer stories, leveraging nominations from sales and customer success, even data based on internal usage reports. And we're constantly keeping tabs of new strategic deal wins for the business. And as we explore these customers internally, we work really closely with our sales and customer success partners to understand how these customers are innovating on our technology and whether or not it'll be a beneficial two-way partnership. On our side, we consider our customer marketing priorities, relevant brands that are disrupting their industry, customers that have strong KPIs and impactful stories of innovation, and most importantly, alignment to our Salesforce values and companies with champions that reflect the diverse communities in which we live. And all of this culminates into selecting our most strategic customers to engage in co-marketing journeys. And then here at Salesforce, we partner across the business to create a cohesive journey that scales across our content and our channels. We work with teams like industry, product marketing, PR, our film team, and so many others to identify the best places for our customer stories to show up. And we create that customer journey that amplifies multiple aspects of our partnership. And in partnership with the account team, we're also that single marketing contact for the customer to ensure that they have the best customer experience every step of the way, and we're showing up to them as one sales force. As we develop our co-marketing journey, we also need to understand the customer's goals and priorities to ensure that we're positioning opportunities that will really excite and delight them. Whether the company is looking to increase its brand awareness, highlight a new product launch, position themselves as an innovator in customer service, or looking to recruit top talent in a competitive market. Our goal is to speak their language and position a co-marketing journey that aligns to their goals and priorities. For some customers, that may mean assuring them that they have full control over how we represent their brand through our partnership. And that's especially important for the example we want to share of how this came to life with one of our amazing trailblazers, Mercedes-Benz. Of course, like Liz shared, every customer journey looks a little bit different, but by understanding Mercedes' priorities, goals, and the story they wanted to tell, we scaled their customer story and amplified their innovation across integrated content and campaigns. We developed really deep relationships with their PR, comms teams, and customer advocates across the business, from their C-suite, IT, marketing, and service leaders to those that were directly implementing Salesforce. And we provided a platform to share their authentic story through a film, visionary demo of their use case, and executive interviews at our biggest stage of the year, our Dreamforce keynote. On-site attendees at Dreamforce were also immersed in the Mercedes-Benz customer story, with artwork featured across the campus and attendees able to interact with the story through an on-site customer experience featuring their all-new, all-electric EQS. We also scaled their story to those that weren't able to join us in person, with a thought leadership interview with one of their amazing IT leaders promoting on our Salesforce Plus streaming service, and featured the voice of the customer in quotes, audio clips, and short films that debuted on our Salesforce digital channels with informative content that shared how they are innovating with Salesforce. But that's not all. We also created a one-page story overview that empowered our Salesforce sales teams globally to share their story in one-to-one and one-to-many conversations. And that, coupled with an internal communication strategy, ensured our global sales team could help amplify Mercedes-Benz innovation within their day-to-day conversations. And for us, social is crucial to reaching new audiences and a critical part of every co-marketing strategy we create. We leveraged both Salesforce-owned social channels and empowered Mercedes-Benz to promote our content on their executives platform, further expanding the reach of our co-marketing partnership to new audiences. By driving that close alignment with Mercedes-Benz and ensuring that we told their authentic story, we were able to scale their customer story across all Salesforce channels and platforms for maximum impact and reach. And for our final stop, Liz will take us through some top tips and best practices as you build out your own customer marketing strategy.
Thank you, Jazz. And we do have a few top tips and best practices to leave you with today. The first one being to focus, focus, focus. If you are just getting started in customer marketing, you need to be crystal clear on your goals and what you want to accomplish through customer storytelling. Is it equipping your sales teams with an inventory of customer success stories so they can close deals faster, or infusing the voices of your customers into your social media strategy to boost engagement with your target audiences? Identify the goal and focus in on it. And from there is really when you can begin to build and grow and scale. I know for my team last year in our business, Salesforce Professional Services, we had not had a formalized reference program, which at Salesforce we call Trailblazer to Win. And they are an incredible team that standardizes all of our reference requests and previously had done across all of our products at Salesforce, but hadn't yet made it over to kind of our people business, our Salesforce Professional Services team. And we knew that we wanted to partner and become a part of, their expanded scope and team because we wanted to increase our account partner efficiency. So they're not having to spend time finding references on their own. And that way we're also no longer, tapping the same references time and time again. And we knew that through this partnership and by investing in the partnership with Trailblazer to Win and our reference program, we would be able to rely on strategic reference matching to match the right references at the right time, while also having a really tangible number in marketing, which can be hard to come to sometimes, but really showing like our influenced pipeline and being able to, I think something else that's important too is when you're focusing in is looking at what exists and knowing you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but who are those partnerships that you have in place that you can just continue to invest more in. The second top tip and best practice is really knowing how to pivot. And throughout this session, you saw the picture perfect moments with customers who were featured across our marketing channels, but there are roadblocks too on the trail to customer marketing and unforeseen circumstances like last minute cancellations or delayed legal approvals or hearing a no from a customer when you're expecting to hear a yes and many more. And we manage a lot of factors that have the ability to change at any moment. And so we always have to plan ahead and be ready to pivot. And I don't think this is a more timely comment than now, as we're all working to come out of a pandemic. I mean, the headline for the pandemic was pivot. So the reality is we've all really had to lean into that. But, being that Salesforce does have a huge marketing presence and a huge events presence, the way that we worked with our customers had to completely transform. So instead of hosting them on site at events, we were shipping them ring lights and kits and doing photography and films from their living rooms. And something that we always have to keep at the front of our minds is, like I said, we manage a lot of factors and those have the ability to change at any moment. So just always be prepared with a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and just always be ready to pivot. And lastly is just to be customer first. And at Salesforce, customer success is one of our core values and is really fundamental to the way that we operate. And we always want to honor a customer's time and their authentic Salesforce success story that's told in a way that is most true to them. And we want to lead with their goals and interests in every opportunity. And when we do that, we find success more naturally for both them and for us and for you. And, we mentioned earlier at Salesforce and customer marketing, we work across a multitude of teams and there's no shortage of opportunities for customers, but we play a really trusted role being that marketing point of contact for a customer's joint marketing journey. And so it's really up to us, to safeguard their time and ensure that we are guiding them based on their goals and interests and preferences and really working in tandem with their teams to tell, the keyword here is authentic, to tell a story that is really authentic to them and not just about our technology, but about, their true transformations and success stories. And so before we say thank you and we end today's session, Jazz, I was going to take the chance to have a bit of a conversation with you. And, you mentioned earlier, you've been at Salesforce for 7 years and almost half of that time, or the majority of that time, has been in customer marketing. So what has kept you around and what do you love about being a customer marketer?
Yeah, it's such a good question, Liz. Truly for me, I love working with our customers. I am so constantly inspired by the innovation that they're driving, and it's such an honor to be able to provide them a platform to amplify the work that they're doing and shine a light on just the amazing innovation that they're driving, not only at the brand level, but also for those individuals and really giving them a platform to highlight their personal brands. It's such a great feeling to watch your customer shine, whether it's on stage or even just a webinar. It feels so special to be a part of their journey and to be there cheering them on every step of the way. So that's what I love about customer marketing. That's what keeps me here and keeps me really excited about this world. Liz, I'm curious, what about you?
For me, I think there are so many things. I think being in customer marketing at Salesforce specifically, it's kind of going back to that slide you shared earlier about how we work across the engine that is Salesforce marketing. We get such incredible exposure when you work in a company that truly puts the customer first in everything that we do. It's just been a great opportunity to learn, product marketing and industry marketing and values-based and campaigns and events and so many other areas, and getting to be that trusted partner that really guides our customers through their journey, where we're championing them and celebrating them. And I feel like I'm also learning a lot along the way. And of course, getting to work with these brands that I'm a fan of and a consumer of is incredible, but I'm even blown away by the brands that I knew little to nothing about before we partnered with them. And now I'm like out in the world and I'm on a road trip and I see a Sunbelt rental sign on the side of the road and I know all about Sunbelt rentals. Or I'm checking out at a restaurant and I see like Chow Now on a screen. And it's just really given me an appreciation knowing that a lot of these brands are Salesforce customers and intimately knowing their transformations and their stories and how we've been able to play a part in getting them there and helping them achieve success. And I'm so happy too that, customer marketing is getting more exposure and acknowledgement in the marketing world, and that we have events like this Customer Marketing Summit where we can come together and educate each other and learn and be curious and ask questions. And so with that, we wanted to thank all of you for tuning in today, and thank you for blazing this customer marketing trail with us. And please do reach out if you want to learn more about customer marketing and customer marketing at Salesforce. You can find Jasmine and me on LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to connect and answer your questions. But we appreciate your time today, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of the summit. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
We've reached the end of the Customer Marketing Summit. If you're a customer marketing practitioner, I hope you learned some new tips and best practices to better engage with customers, to build and maintain trusting and mutually beneficial relationships. And if you're a marketing or business leader, I hope today's summit convinced you what Influitive firmly believes, that customer marketing and advocacy are the key to retention, growth, and profits. That's why the world's most successful companies invest in it and work with us. Thank you for attending, and have a great day.